Hello, my name is Peyton and I work for the Lethbridge Public Library, and today I am doing a video for In Stitches and Saturday Stitching. So there are two programs. They run Tuesdays at 1 at the main branch and Saturdays at 1 at the Crossings branch. And it's just a little program we have for people to meet up and do knitting, or in this case I'm doing quilting, crocheting, anything like that. So this one is for quilting. So it's a quilt I was working on before COVID-19, and I've done a couple posts on it, and yeah, well, I'll show you. It's the fox quilt right here. So I finished, I've done 11 rows, so today I'm going to show you how to complete a row of triangles for a triangle quilt. So all my triangles are already cut out, just like this. And you'll notice the top is flat, and that's because the triangle cutter I use doesn't have a pointed top. And it's okay, like if you don't get one with a pointed top, it's actually handy because then you have less fabric to deal with when you sew the rows together. And you can still measure and everything, and it's still accurate. But yeah, so mine doesn't have the pointed top. Those are my triangles. And so what I do for my row, so here we are on row 12, is I gather all the triangles for the row. So I start with the ones on this end and I just pile them up in color. So it looks like this lovely pile of fabric. So the one on top is the one for this end. And you'll notice that this pattern has wavy edges, right? Like cut here. Now, this is only my third quilt, and I am choosing not to do the wavy edge on the side here. It's just when it comes to the binding, it'll be a little more complicated. I've only done one quilt with a binding before, so for this one I just want to do a rectangular quilt instead. So for the edge, what I have here are my half triangles, like this. And they're just going to sit on the edge, and it'll be what makes it into a rectangle. And these I would just cut after cutting all my triangles, just with the little scrap of fabric there. So I have a bunch of those, and that's how I'll get the nice edge. So yeah, so we have our row here, and I follow it along as I sew. Where I have a ruler somewhere, right here. And so when I pick my squares, I put my ruler flat so I can see which one I'm working on. Then I grab all the triangles I need. And then, you know, again, I have them lined up. So this bottom one is for this edge, and then I just pile them up, and it's just keeps me organized and on track. So I'm just gonna put it here because I have grabbed two triangles at once, not realizing it before, so I just don't want to do that again. So yeah, so I have my ruler all lined up. I have my pattern here to go. I have my pile of triangles ready. Sewing machine on. The right color thread is in here. I have my little assistant today. And we're going to start. So the first part, and it's kind of key, is knowing which way your first triangle is going to go, because that's going to determine how you sew the rest of them. So I take my half triangle, and I'm just going to set my half triangle to the side for a moment. Set my other triangles to the other side and take my top triangle. In this case, my top triangle is starting turned down, so I'm going to lay it in the direction of the pattern in front of me. And then I'm going to take my half edge, my half triangle, and figure out where it would lie to make an edge. So I have this in front of me, then I take my half triangle, and I know it's going to sit here. And I line them up, and then I just fold it over, and that's how I know where to sew it. And I'm just going to line it up. So again, these don't have tips, so I'm not going to line tip to tip. If this one, like one of these edges could be tip to tip, but it's not. So instead I just line it up so that the edges meet, just like that. And I'm going to have a 1/4 seam allowance. So I'm going to put it down here. And for me, the 1/4 seam allowance is the edge of my foot. And so I'm just going to line it up with the edge, make sure everything's all good to go, and we're going to sew straight down. done. All right, pull it out here and snip it. And we have our first sewed, our first two pieces together. So you can see here, I have my straight edge and I have my row starting. Now what I'm going to do, and this is key for the triangle quilt, is to open the seam. And then I turn it over and I press it down with my fingers. Now they recommend in the instructions for this quilt to iron when you do this. So you would connect your triangles and then you'd iron them. And then you'd connect them and iron. I am opting out of that process and instead just using my fingers. And then I iron them when I go to sew them together. But sewing them together is something else entirely. So we'll leave that for another video. I have my first piece. So now I take my second full triangle and I line it up and I flip it over. And I won't be lining it up every time. Usually it's just the first three pieces and then after that I'm good to go. So just gonna put here. Make sure it sits where it's supposed to. Let's make life easier and use the tip. There we go. And you'll notice I'm not pinning this. And these are 4-inch triangles. So with a quarter seam gone, they'll be about 3.5 inches when the rows are all sewn together. And so because they're small, they don't actually move a whole lot. So what I do is I make sure it's lined up and I put down my foot. I put my needle in it. Oops. Possibly try to put my needle in it. Making sure my thread, if anyone knows how to stop your thread from popping out like that, please comment below because it's very annoying and it happens fairly frequently for me. So yeah, put the foot down, put the needle down, and then I make sure to line it up again on top here. So I just check my edge. When I know it's good, I go for it. I stop about here because my sewing machine has a little lip here, right here. And so even though I've opened the seam, it doesn't stay open. So I open it again after it passes over that lip, and then I just hold it flat and keep going. It's only when the where they meet is on the bottom when it meets the open seam is on the bottom like this one. You'll see in the next one they're gonna meet at the top, and so you get through holding it open right away. So again, I open it, I press it with my fingers rather than ironing it because I'll iron it later. Double check that I have the right color according to the pattern. So I do. I have this little like mossy gray. Line it up. Make sure it's open when I go in. Line up my foot, put down my needle, make sure it stays aligned. And if I have to, I'll stop my machine while doing it and realign it. You just keep going, making sure your seams stay open. And the open seams are really important for the next step for joining the rows together. Just so you don't get bunched fabric, because you can feel that even with the batting in the quilt, you can feel those lumps. And just to make it a little prettier, we try not to have those lumps. So let's go again. I'm just going to stop and reopen this now that we've passed my bump. that off. And I'm just going to do one more to show you. So open the seam. Cut on my next one. Put needle. Seam is open because it's at the top, so it's really easy to gauge. This one looks like it likes to move a little bit, so I'm just going to hold it tight. Off the end there. Pull, snip. And there we go. So we have 5 triangles there plus our half triangle, and I know it looks like it's kind of arced a little bit, but that'll straighten out as we sew the rows together. It'll get a little straighter, a little more stiff, and you keep going through your entire pile of triangles. So in this pile, I do have my applique eye and nose and other eye, so 2 eyes and a nose here, and I'm just gonna put them on like I did with the rest of the triangles. One at a time, just keep going down the row. That's the way I prefer to do it. And to learn how to do the applique eyes and noses, there is a video for that. If it hasn't been posted yet, it will be posted with the rest of these ones. So yeah, our partial one. And once you do an entire row, you get all the triangles together. Like so. So this one goes this way because these are the ears. Little ears. And so the eyes and stuff will go underneath it. Yeah. So again, my name was Peyton. I work for the Lethbridge Public Library, and this was part of our Fox quilt tutorial videos, and this one was how to start a row of triangles for a triangle quilt. Join us again. We'll be doing applique, we'll be doing how to join the rows together, and if there's any other videos you want to see or any other sewing, knitting, art, craft techniques you want to learn, please comment below for what you would like to see from us, and have a great day.